The Trails series is coming to an end, but that doesn't mean The Legend of Heroes is. Hey, it's just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and I've been thinking a lot lately about how the Trails series is ending, and it's been kind of bumming me out, if I'm honest. But it's also gotten me thinking, what could Falcom do to make the next Legend of Heroes series even better than Trails? And I've got a whole bunch of ideas. So if you're into it, let's talk about it, shall we? Here we go. One way they could approach this new Legend of Heroes series would be to treat it as a sort of sequel to Trails. Well, a sequel or a prequel. Let's talk about both. So if they wanted to treat this new Legend of Heroes series as a sequel to Trails, but still not have the baggage that would come with making a direct sequel to a long-running franchise, they could simply set it so far in the future that it practically doesn't matter. So we could just be so far removed from the events of Trails that the moment-to-moment story doesn't really rely on knowledge of the Trails series, but there could still be all sorts of oblique lore references to things that happened from the Trails series that I think longtime fans of the Trails series would really love to see. Alternatively, if they wanted to do it as a prequel, they could set it way back in the past prior to the Great Collapse and all that. There might not be as many references to the Trails series, although we would likely get to see some of the events transpire that we've only heard about vaguely from the Trails games, and that would also be really cool. And I think there would be some real benefits to taking this approach. Essentially, Falcom would be able to make a clean break with all new characters, all new lands, all new stories. And yet at the same time, they would be able to start with a baked-in fan base that was motivated to experience the story because they have this vestigial love for the original Trails series. So they'll have the new story that's one of the draws to play these games, but they'll also have the knowledge that there are just going to be these little Easter eggs sprinkled throughout. They're going to tie it back into that original series that they love so much. They're going to understand a little bit more about the broader lore than a brand new fan, but that sort of broader lore isn't going to matter to the moment-to-moment gameplay or the stories of the particular games themselves. So really, it's kind of a win-win in that way. I do think that there are also some downsides to taking this approach. For one, it could possibly lead to some pandering. I think that Falcom often takes fan response a little too seriously when it comes to their writing. They pay maybe too much attention to what the fans think. And if fans are really revved up by all these lore references and things that they're dropping into the new games, they might start to do it more and more to the point where they're basically just muddying the waters in their new story. And I don't think that that's a benefit to us as longtime Trails fans or to anybody else who's playing this new Legend of Heroes series completely fresh. In a way, too, it might also stifle their creativity. If they're working within a world that already has its rules established, then they really don't have much flexibility to create a new world or new rules. So it's not just positives, right? If they did decide to go this route, whether it's with a sequel set in the far future or a prequel set in the far past, there's certain things that I think they would need to do in order for it to be great. One, absolutely no returning characters. Oblique references only. We don't even necessarily need to hear the name of any major character from the Trails series in this new series. Talk about the red-headed pigtailed girl who saved the world, or the green-haired church guy who stopped a giant conspiracy or something. Like, that's cool. Give us that sort of thing. Those winks and nods at fans like us, we eat that stuff up. That's great. And it also doesn't really matter to a non-fan because they just think, okay, that's part of the lore. Maybe I'll find out, maybe I won't. And they move on and they just enjoy the story. Any returning characters are going to immediately steal the spotlight from whatever story is being told in that game. So I think returning characters, absolutely not. Do not show their faces. On the flip side of one of the negatives that I said about this idea, I actually do think that often having a framework can inspire more creativity in writers and artists in general. Like, putting restrictions on an artist often causes them to think outside the box and come up with truly innovative and cool solutions to problems that they wouldn't have come up with if they just had complete freedom. So setting this new series within an established world like the world of the Trails games would give them that framework that then might inspire creativity beyond the bounds of, what they're unfettered imagination could come up with. So if they treat this sequel, prequel series the way I'm suggesting, if they give us fans some subtle references to events of the past, but really the primary and even secondary focus is on the events happening in that world at that time, then I think that essentially they're covering all their bases. They're pleasing new fans who are coming in without any Trails knowledge, and they're really pleasing Trails fans by showing us that they appreciate that we care so much about that series. And honestly, I don't think it would take a lot in terms of references to make us happy. Throw in one significant reference in every game, and I think we will just be over the moon. So really, it wouldn't even take that much for them to take this approach and still have the full creative freedom that they want to tell a completely new story. So that's one idea, that's one path that they could choose to tread with the new Legend of Heroes series. The other path, of course, would be to just completely cut ties, create something completely unconnected from Trails in every way, shape, and form. I think that there are benefits and downsides to this approach as well. Let's start with the benefits, looking on the bright side. Realistically, no matter how they choose to approach this, any attempt at a new series to take the place of Trails is going to be scrutinized to death by Trails fans. It's just going to happen. If they make a completely clean break, however, we will have fewer reasons to constantly compare this new series to Trails. Then we can focus more on engaging with the new story and not thinking about, well, maybe they should have done this to connect it a little more closely to the things that came before, right? Like, we would have fewer reasons to draw lines of comparison between the two, and that would allow the new series to just kind of stand on its own 2 feet. And like I kind of alluded to earlier with the fact that creativity can either be hindered or enhanced by having a framework, it could be that the writers at Falcom have some crazy new ideas for like a new world with completely new systems, new kingdoms, new lands, new ideas and concepts, right, that they would love to do. And if they made a game again in the Trails universe, they would be restricted and all of those ideas would go unused. This would finally give them an opportunity to take those ideas that they've probably been sitting on and thinking about and developing for 20 years now, right? Because writers don't just do one thing. Writers always have stories going through their heads. They're always writing down ideas. They're always coming up with plots. And if they've been doing that all this time as they've been working on the Trails series, as like Trails and East have kind of been their 2 pillars for years now, if they've been constantly doing this sort of creative work on the back burner this whole time, then they would be completely unable to use any of that stuff that they spent all this time doing. Whereas if they do a completely clean break, then hey, they've got the opportunity to make some of those ideas a reality. Now, I don't know about you, as much as I like the Trail series, I am really excited to see what the Falcom writers have potentially been sitting on for a long time. That's going to be amazing. As great as each new Trails game is, I can't even fathom some of the stuff that they've come up with and haven't been able to implement yet. The stories that they haven't been able to tell. I think that there's going to be some really, really good stuff in there. And I think also just having that full creative freedom, even though, like I said, sometimes guardrails can enhance creativity, I do think for the benefit of the writers on the Trails games, having that full creative freedom would be really nice for a change, right? Like, they've been writing within this one world for 2 decades now. Just to have a completely clean slate to start over with, I think that would potentially even inspire them to even greater heights. The downsides to this approach, and I guess it's really just one downside that I can think of. If you can think of more, let me know in the comments. But really the only downside that I can think of is that they run the risk of there being some sort of fan fall off, right? If Trails fans who have been in love with Trails for 20 years see that series come to an end, and then Falcom says, but here's this new thing we've made for you, check it out. They might look at it and say, but that's not Trails. I'm sure it's fine, but I don't know, man, it's not Trails. I'm just not excited about it. I don't really want to invest 20 more years, right? I'm good. Trails fans are very skeptical, is what I'm saying. And I think that there's going to be a lot of skepticism thrown Falcom's way when they present us with whatever new thing they're working on. The way I think they make this approach great is just to keep doing what they do best. Tell an amazing story, right? With no baggage holding them back, they should theoretically be able to shoot for the moon with this new series. So if they can just keep doing what they've always done so well, telling a great story with great gameplay surrounding it, I think that a completely clean break would work really, really well. So with those two kind of big picture concepts out of the way, right? The direction they could take this new series. And it really is just kind of one of those two directions. It's either going to be related to Trails or it's not. So with those things out of the way, I wanted to talk about some ideas that I've had about how they could ensure that this new series is as good, if not better, than Trails. First things first, let's keep the arc structure. I think that is one of the most brilliant ideas that anyone has come up with for long-form storytelling, not just in video games, but honestly in any medium. You look at like a long-running series of fantasy novels, and there's like 30 of them, and a new one comes out every other year or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to catch up with this series? It just seems insurmountable. And the same could be said for a series of like more than a dozen video games, right? Because a video game is going to take you 80, 90, 100, 120 hours sometimes. These are not short games. So it can just be overwhelming. But the genius of the arc system is that it gives people natural on-ramps. If they're intimidated by this super long series, they can jump in at the start of an arc, experience the story. They might miss a few references. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. But they will have a great time with the arc that they're playing, and maybe if they fall in love with it, then they become a series fan, they go back, play the games they missed, and they're there day one for the games coming in the future. I think having an arc structure like they did for Trails, for this new Legend of Heroes series, is going to be absolutely essential. But guys, could we please hold it to 2 games per arc? Please, that's more than enough. 2 games per arc. Now, I think it's totally fine if you want to throw a interstitial game in there from time to time, right? Like, a Trails in the Sky 3rd chapter, or, Trails into Reverie, that sort of game. If you want to put one of those sort of connector games in there every now and then, that's cool, that's fine. But let's switch it up every 2 games. Let's not have Reen be the main character for 4 1/3 Trails games. 2/3 Trails games. Holy cow. That's too many times. That's too much Reen as the main character. Reen's fine. Nothing against Reen. He's just the example, right? Because he was the main character so much in this series. Give us new main characters every 2 games. That's all I'm asking. You can bring a lot of those characters back in these sort of connector titles that come in between arcs, but for the most part, let's just keep it to 2. Please, can we keep it to 2, please? I think one good idea that they sort of did in the beginning of the series and then kind of more or less stopped. I mean, they didn't completely stop it, but they didn't emphasize it as much, was having the previous arc's protagonists sort of shepherd the new protagonists at the beginning of a new arc. So, obviously Trails in the Sky 1st chapter, that's Estelle, Joshua, right? That whole cast is there. There's no one to shepherd them. They're on their own. But when the Crossbell series starts, we have Estelle and Joshua showing up for, a good chunk of the first game to, help us fans just get accommodated to the new reality, right? It ties the world in so much more strongly to have those characters there, kind of, like I said, shepherding the new protagonists through the beginning of their journey. And, there are traditionally have been previous characters who have been, have always shown up in new arcs to kind of fill that role. Like, you've got Olivier showing up at the beginning of Cold Steel and throughout Cold Steel, of course, and Ren showing up in Daybreak and all these things. Like, you're getting these characters coming along, but I really think having the protagonist or protagonists of the previous arc show up for a while. It doesn't have to be half the game. It doesn't have to be a quarter of the game. Just a few hours, right? Just to give us that connective tissue and kind of take us by the hand and guide us into the new arc. I think that that's a great storytelling technique for a lot of reasons. And I think that it could wet the whistles of people who are coming in fresh on a new arc, get them introduced to these other characters and make them think, these characters seem cool. I wish that I could get to know them better. Oh, you mean to tell me that there's 2 whole games with those characters that I could go play right now? okay, I'll do that, right? I think it works for a lot of different reasons. And in general, I know I'm going to sound like a cranky old man. Let's keep the total number of playable characters manageable. Let's keep it manageable. I think it's great that Falcom is able to weave this rich tapestry of interesting characters throughout the course of the series. It really is remarkable. But if they don't all get a chance to shine in each game they appear in, you may have just put too many characters in your game. For example, see Stranger Things. By the end of Stranger Things, there are 500 main characters and none of them have anything meaningful to do because there are 500 of them, right? So the one or two characters that do something steal the show and everybody else is just kind of there. I think still having a core team of 7 or 8 major characters per arc is totally doable. Just give them some meaningful contribution to the story. In a lot of Trails games, you will have this, amazing cast of characters, but there will be entire games where characters have absolutely nothing interesting to say or do. Like in Beyond the Horizon, I feel like my boy Catra and my girl Elaine, they just got shafted. They had nothing meaningful to contribute to the story. I think Elaine babysits at some point, and that's kind of the major thing she does. That's a bummer from a story perspective and from a lover of characters perspective. Like, give your characters interesting things to do. Otherwise, have them sit on the bench. Have them off doing something else. Because if they're not going to contribute meaningfully to the story, then why are they there? And I think limiting the characters who are in the party will have the add-on effect of sort of tamping down on Falcom's habit of having every single character chime in with a line or two for every single scene, even if it has nothing to do with them. You know the thing. You get to Trails into Reverie and the ending is just like, it's an hour of every character saying a line. We don't need that. We don't need it. It's fine. You can stop doing that. It was cute for a while. Not really, but I think they wanted it to be cute. I don't think it was that cute, but you can stop doing it now. Like it's okay. Let's just keep it under control is what I'm saying. I absolutely 100% think that the new Legend of Heroes series should maintain the current Trails battle system. The current Trails battle system is the best battle system in role-playing games, period. I love everything about it. Now, I think that they absolutely should take that system and continue to iterate on it like Falcom has been doing in every new Trails game going forward, right? Like, they're never going to just release a game with the exact same battle system copy and pasted. They're going to introduce new elements. That is good. That is fine. They should keep doing that. But absolutely do not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. If you want to leave the Trails moniker behind and all of the lore that goes along with that, totally understandable. I get why you would want to do that. But do not get rid of the core fundamental gameplay of the series, because that is the thing that draws so many people to it. And I think that would provide some really strong connective tissue for fans of Trails if they're getting a game especially that has no connection to Trails from a story perspective. That makes us feel more connected to this new series, right? And I'm almost positive that they will keep the Trails battle system. But I just really want to emphasize that. That is one of the most important, if not the most important thing that they need to do to make sure that this series finds success. Keep that battle system. Okay, I'm going to say that I think that the new Legend of Heroes series should go darker than Trails. And that's going to seem absolutely nuts to you because of some things that happen in the Trails series. Yes, there are some absolutely horrendously dark things that happen in the Trails series. I am not trying to suggest that there isn't. However, Trails has, for the vast majority of its runtime, been terrified of devastating its characters and its players. Things that feel like they should be life or death situations basically never turn out to be so. There are no life or death stakes for the most part throughout the entirety of Trails. Now, yes, when the Daybreak arc begins, we do start to see some more significant life or death stakes. Things get amped up. There is some real consequence to the actions of the villains, right? So they're starting to get the message, but it's so late in the run of the series that it kind of feels too little too late in some ways. Like, I'm never very worried about the fate of any character that I love, because I am like 99.9% sure that everything is going to work out for them just fine. And you shouldn't feel that way in an epic fantasy story like this. Major characters can and should die. It's just part of this kind of storytelling. Like, it needs to happen. And Falcom, let me direct this to you. Please don't give in to the marketing department, okay? They're going to come to you and they're going to say, we have these surveys that show these characters are the most popular among the fans, and we're going to sell so much merch, and we want to continue making merchandise of these characters for years to come. Please don't kill them, because if you do, then they're going to fall out of popularity. People are going to stop thinking about them, and we won't get to continue making this merchandise. Please, for the love of art, don't listen to them. Let the story dictate what happens to the characters. Not your marketing, not your surveys, your customer satisfaction. Like, the story should be king. So please make the story king in the new Legend of Heroes series. And also, marketing department aside, just us in general, don't listen to us, right? And I know it's ironic. I'm telling you to do something and I'm saying don't listen to me. But really, you shouldn't listen to us. Trails fans, I think we know what we want and what we like in the series, but I don't think we usually do. I think we have vague ideas, and nothing you ever do is going to quite hit those anyway. So I think you just need to establish what it is that your vision for the series, and go for that, regardless of what people say they think they want you to do next. Put it out of your minds, focus on the story that you're telling, and knock it out of the park. And I think you will. I think you have the potential. Finally, I know what it means for me to say this. I get it. I don't care though. Please don't include DLC of little children in their underpants. Please. If there is one particular pervert on the staff that is insisting on this, please just fire that person. Fire that person. It's not worth it. We don't need to see the boys and girls in their underpants. Now, if you want to make sexy stuff for sexy adults to do sexily, fine. I think that's great. You do you. Go nuts. You can have all sorts of fun doing that if you want to. But we need to draw a line somewhere, and let's make that line, adulthood. Let's make it that. Can we just make it that, please? It's hard to defend the Trail series sometimes to people that see those elements, especially among the fan base of certain members of the fan base. Not the fan base at large. Most of you guys are cool. But certain members of that fan base, right? It's hard to defend the series to people that see that and go, that's gross. Why would I play that? It's like, it's not the game. It's not like, that's optional stuff that you can download, or you can change your costumes or whatever sometimes. Like, that's not canon. That's not part of the story. It's just weird stuff for weirdos. You don't have to do it. Please don't do it. Please stop doing it. Please. Thank you. Anyway, that's it. Those are my first initial thoughts. I'm going to be giving this a lot more thought, I think, in the coming weeks and months and years, especially as we see the Trail series continuing to wind down. And as we maybe start getting little bits of information about what Falcom might be planning next. I highly doubt that they're going to give us very much before Trails is over, but I'm confident that the writers are doing something, and probably have been, like I said, probably have been doing something for a long time, behind the scenes, coming up with ideas, crafting stories. We know that they're good at it. We know that they have astonishing imaginations. So I'm sure that whatever they're working on next is going to be just incredibly epic. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. If you liked the video, would you mind liking it? And if you aren't subscribed, if you consider subscribing, it would really help me out a lot. And if you like podcasts, if you like JRPGs and podcasts, then please check out my podcast, the JRPG Pursuit, where we talk about JRPGs every single week. We have a link for that down in the description. Go subscribe to that too. Please, 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 and thank you. Anyway, with that, until next time, bye-bye.